Hello and welcome to My Man the Maker. Today we're going to be looking at a 2005 Forester with a broken lock on the driver's side. Taking the door off is really easy. You have a screw that fits into the handle, two plugs that come off the bottom of the console, and you have a little tiny screw here, which I apparently didn't need to remove because all I had to do was take the surround off and the door card popped right off. So as you can see, looking in the car, there is a little green actuator. I don't know if you can see it with this camera. There's a little green actuator on a rod, and the way to get at it is to maybe remove this plug, but certainly getting rid of this plastic barrier would be a good idea. And it's gonna be a tight fit, but we'll see if we can't get at it through maybe this plug here or this plug here. I'm gonna do some exploring and then I'll show you how I got at it. Pop the door lock out from the inside of the door out and then try to get it repaired. So that's what we're going to try and do now. Okay, well, it looks like we might be able to get at it by removing this plug here. I just popped it out. Now this is the plug that allows you to get at the 10mm bolt that holds on the door handle. But we're not going after the door handle, we're going after the lock, which is a little bit lower. Looks to me like the only thing holding that thing in place is a clip, a friction clip for the lock, and a green clip, like a rod clip. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to try and show you through the hole. That's kind of, maybe I can stick the camera in here to show you. There we go. So let's see if I can get it to focus on that. There's the rod clip, so that has to come off. And then behind it, there seems to be like a friction mount clip that holds the lock in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get that rod clip off first. And then I'm going to see if I can use a screwdriver to move that backing panel off. And I don't really care if it falls into the door, that's okay. I just need to get that lock out so I can take a look at it, and I'll try to rescue the little clip later. So I'm just going to stick my finger around the window, which is here, and see if I can't get that green clip off of the back of the actuator for the lock itself. That's going to take some doing. If I'm successful, it will be just the result of me having stuck my finger in, or a tool in, to remove that lower arm. You have to shift it off the rod, and then the rod pops out towards the inside of the car. Getting the clip out was really easy. All I did was shift the window over a bit, like that, with my finger, and that gave me, you'll see how it kind of moves a bit. That gave me enough room to be able to stick in this screwdriver and manipulate the clip from, I don't know if you can see it, but I just stuck the screwdriver in there and manipulated the clip so it fell off the rod. The rod is now loose from the lock, and now what I need to do is get the clip that secures the lock. It looks like it slides in behind the lock. So we're going to get that lock out. Well, I've got happy news for you. I was looking at how to do this online, and the instructions I got were a little on the backwards side. Thankfully, I found some proper instructions printed by Subaru, and the much easier way to do this is to do it with the window fully closed in the total upright position. Then you just cut an access port, because you don't want this glue all over your fingers. It's awful stuff. And then you can see I can get at the rod. Here's the rod that fits in that green actuator. And then there's this backing plate in there, as you can probably see there. So the rod is now not connected, right? It goes into that green thing and then clips in, and the lock is held in by that friction plate. So now what I'm just going to do with two hands, so I'm going to put the phone down because I don't want to lose the lock in the car door, is I'm going to try to wiggle that friction plate out. It's got like two little spade-like prongs that hold the lock in, and I'm going to have a look at that lock and see, get the lock out of the door, and then see about whether or not I can rescue it or replace it with a different key lock. But of course the first thing is getting it out, so that's what we're going to do now. Okay, I just got this off by wiggling it. It's all rusted in place, so I have a feeling this lock has been broken for a long time, allowing the weather to come in and corrode the bottom. So it was a little rusty, but I just hooked my thumbs in there and wiggled and wiggled and wiggled, and then eventually gave way and came out. The instructions say to replace this part when you replace the lock. So now with this part out, the next thing to do is see if we can get this lock out. Let's see. Should be able to just pull it out. And there we are. Okay, the Subaru lock is out. So now the next thing to try to figure out is what the heck happened to it. And oh, a part just fell out of it. I have a feeling this is a very broken lock. Yeah, I may have to try to find that part, but I think the lock may not be savable. So let's have a look in the grass for the part and see. The little steel door that covers the lock when it's like, you know, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but your locks have like a little flippy door that covers this hole. So when it rains or snows or whatever, you don't get the weather coming into your lock. Well, that's a little piece that fell out. So apparently the little cover broke, but the lock actually still works. So let's see if I can do this one-handed. Let's get this on there. Okay, and now I'm going to rotate the lock with the key stationary. Oh, can I do it now? Yeah, it's just really stiff. You see how I can... Let's see if I can do this way with the old right hand. Okay, watch. Oh, I just got to make sure I understand. All right, so you hold the barrel stationary, and the little arm. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. Here we go. Let's get the focus in there. So I'm going to turn the key. Left, right. Turning the key. See, there's the key turning, and there's the armature turning. So I'm going to try and just reinstall this thing and see if my lock works, because I was unable to insert the key, but the lock appears to be all right. It just needs a whole bunch of oil to keep it together, and I should be able to put the rod back in and get it working. So for those of you who want to know how to change a lock, this one, the only thing that was wrong with it was the little hatch was broken. But if you want to change out a lock in a Subaru, that's how it's done. So I'll just put it back in and see if I can't get this door to function properly. Well, considering we're about halfway through the rehab of this lock, I thought what I would do is there's a siren in the background, sorry about that. I thought what I would do is show you what I'm up to. So what I did was I took a piece of used sandpaper that I'd used for something else. It was just lying around, and I dry sanded this clip to as close to the bare metal as possible. It's quite pitted on this side because it inserts behind the lock this way, so all of the water and snow and stuff has been dripping on it for I don't know how many countless years. So I'm going to continue to sand this down until I get it looking as much like this side as possible. There's a couple of rust spots there. Then I'm going to use this 3-in-1 oil over there to oil the entire assembly to give it some protection from the elements. I'll also probably oil the inside of the door because I have a feeling where this made it against the door, there's a rust going on. Now this is a one-time clip, but I don't have a spare, so I'm just going to reinstall this and hope for the best, and then if I need to buy another clip, I will. I hope I don't need to. But I also noticed that this lock is in very rough shape, so what I thought I would do is I would sand the oxidation off the or oxidization, I don't know which word to use, off the lock itself, and then oil it too, because it's quite greasy, quite rusty, I'm sorry, from the elements. Reinstallation should be easy. I'll be sure to record that, but I just wanted to know where I was in terms of this lock rehab. The plate is being rehabbed, dry sand down to the metal, and then oiled. And then this is also being dry sanded cosmetically, and then it too will be oiled. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a couple of little grooves here. Here's one, and there's an opposite groove, and that's what that clip fits into. So the clip slides into that groove, and if you notice on this clip, there's this little tab. Now this one has survived, it's the top. This one, however, has rusted away, it's the bottom. And what they do is they slide into the lock, and then they kind of spring into place. So they're actually supposed to be there to, I suppose, to prevent vibration from rusting, what am I talking about? Vibration from wiggling this backing plate out of its position. I don't know. We'll see. The car is waiting, and it's a nice day, so I just decided to do it sort of old school slow with a sandpaper, emery paper if you want to call it that. Get it right back down to the bare metal as close as possible. Oil it up with a this is 5W, I think a 5W30. It's a mix of oils, but it's really looks to me like a 5W30 light oil mixed with mineral oil and so on and so forth. And it doesn't smell like motor oil, but it's not far from motor oil. And this will be protected with a layer of oil, and the lock itself will also have oil inside. And because my door is missing, I will have to oil this lock periodically, like once a month. Put some WD-40, or better yet, something like this, or maybe silicone spray to prevent the lock itself from getting too corroded on the inside. But so far, so good. And that means that I'll have escaped needing to replace this lock simply by having taken it out and examined it. And I never found that piece that fell into the grass, but what it was, thankfully, all it was the little door that protects this hole from the elements. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished the sanding and start to install in the car. Okay, the parts are ready to be put back in the car. As you can see, the clip cleaned up nice. You can hardly tell that there was rust. There's a couple of little brown spots, but this shouldn't rust that easily. It's well coated with this oil. And I also took the opportunity to clean the faceplate and really lubricate the body, the inside of the lock. Now, if some of the sand from the sandpaper got in the lock, so I had to use a considerable amount of oil to wash it out, and I would encourage that you do the same. Otherwise, your lock is going to sound a bit grindy. But after a couple of applications of this, it washed out, especially by inserting the key and moving it around. The grit got out of the way, and now the lock is ready to be installed, which should be a fairly easy process. Everything is very oily now, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position everything and then clean my hands and take a shot of how it's going to look. I also need to check the interior of the car door. As you can see, the interior of the car door is a little rusted, so I'm going to work on that a little bit with the emery cloth and oil that area as well to prevent rust from perforating below the lock, which would happen if you leave it untreated. So all I'm going to do is take sandpaper, scratch that rust out as much as I can on the surface, and then put some of this 3-in-1 oil on my finger and smear it around on the inside of that door, just to stop any further rust from developing. Yeah, it didn't take very much to remove that rust. Then I just put a light coat of oil there. So now we're ready to insert the lock, and I'll go get it and I'll show you how to put it in. Okay, so getting the lock in is pretty easy because it's keyed. You can see that it's got 3 fat indentations and then a skinny one, so you cannot really insert this thing the wrong way. So you just find the skinny indentation and you put the lock in, and it should slide right in. I cleaned the car door, so now the lock is in, and all I have to do now is go around on the back with the clip and slide the clip behind the lock and then reattach the rod. So that's a two-handed thing. I can't really do it to show you, but the sliding in the clip is pretty straightforward. You just get it in the right place and then push it in, and you'll feel it. When it feels right, it'll click into place, and then it'll be very difficult to move thereafter. And then I'll put the rod in. Getting this clip in was really easy. I just slid it along the car door contour. It fell into the slot really simply, and it was easy peasy. Slide in, slide out. I realize that you're not supposed to be able to slide it out, but the little ear, one of the little ears is broken, so it's quite easy to slide out. Now all I do is I take that little rod there and I pop it into the hole, and then I slide the clip from the left to the right. It swings to the right to secure the rod. I'll show you what it looks like with the rod inserted. And there we are. The lock has been taken out. The little door fell out into the grass. Fully lubricated, rust removed, anti-rust oil applied, and now I'm going to have to test the lock with my key and put the door back together. And what I'll do is I'll use I'll sort of give you a step-by-step on putting the door back together, so you get an idea of how I took it apart. So the next thing to test is the key. So I'm able to insert it and turn it. Now let's see what's going on here. So that rod there, as I turn the key, see, it's moving. That actuator arm is moving the rod, which is then making this happen. So I can say it was a great success, and now I just need to put the door back together after I clean my hands from all this oil. So that's the next thing I'll show you. Backing out from doing this repair is to tape back the plastic sheeting that's held in with this really nasty black tar stuff. You don't want to actually peel it back from the door. Just cut yourself a little hole and then tape it together later like this. It's just as good and it's a whole lot less dirty. So the next thing I'm going to do is hang the door card. The door card sits on this little shelf here, so you kind of center it up, and then you pop in the there's like this friction fit fittings, and you should also, if you have removed this plug, you should put it back in like I'm doing. If I can get it together to do it right. There we go. There we go. So it's now popped in. So the next thing to do is to hang the door card on this ledge and then pop in the fittings into these. I believe they insert into these white and blue fittings. And if in my case I had to attach this after I'd removed the door card to lift the window, so I'm going to remove this before I put the door card on, because it goes on after the door card's in place. Actually, these are not supposed to be here. They are supposed to be in the door card. So what happened was they slipped out of the door card. I've got to pull them out gently with a pair of pliers, needle nose probably. 1, 2, 3, I believe. I don't see any others. The rest of them actually slip into. They should be popping into these empty holes in the door. I just realized that. So. Okay, I'm going to get them out, mount them in the door card, and then get the door card mounted. And the way you get the door card into this car is you sort of snug it at an angle under the mirror, and you slide it along this rail, and then you pop it down to the point where the window, there's like a fuzz on the window that interfaces with the glass. It fits correctly here. You just sort of wiggle it around and it'll fit in eventually. And you kind of put it in at a slight angle. Once it feels like it's hanging correctly, you should just be able to push the door card into the door. And be very gentle with this plastic. In my case, is 15 years old, and it's 15-year-old plastic is pretty brittle. So I'm going to be very, very gentle with these plugs. And then they mount in these fittings in the door card. It just so happens that in my case they didn't go in. So I've got 1, 2, 3 that have popped out. So I'm going to place them back in this door card and then get this thing correctly mounted in the on the door. So I'll just go get a pair of pliers. Installed. I think I got them in the right order, but there seem to be a bunch of different colors, and I don't know if that matters or doesn't matter, but I tried to move them with some kind of system according to the ones that were stuck in the door, and there was one on the ground. So there's looking at the back of the door, we've got 1, 2 white clips, 3 white clips across the top, then I have a blue clip, then I have 2 black clips in the corner, and then I have white clips along the bottom. Now the only clip that was unusual is this one. The other ones, the blacks didn't get pulled out, and the whites are everywhere else. So the only clip that seems a bit, that was at all unusual is this blue one. Now I did look at there seems to be some sort of color coding. It says white BRA, white BRA, but over here it says white BRA. So there's black clips where there were supposed to be white clips, and this blue clip says white BRA, and underneath this white clip it says white BRA. So I'm just going to give it a try and see how we do. This little blue clip is shorter than everything else, and so are the blacks. So I'm guessing the white are long, and the black and so the whites are long, the blacks are medium, and the blue is the short. So I'm really hoping that the short clip goes here, which would be the trailing edge of the door, right in that corner there. We shall see. I'm gonna roll back on my old video and see if the bottom clip, like what these three clips are, because I have white, blue, white, and well, let's see what the previous video shows. You just kind of wiggle it into that corner, and then you start popping the clips in to making sure that this edge here registers correctly. I think it's okay. You can't really go wrong because the clips force you to be centered right on the center of the door card, right on the door. So here we're going to try the acid test. Door shut. Okay, it opens. And now we're going to try to lock it. Door does not open. And now we try to unlock. Door opens. So that means that this repair is complete. Great success, of course. And I'm gonna just clean that little bit of oil drip from the lock, and I can declare this particular challenge defeated. So to put the door card in, you slip it onto the rail, you snug it in there, and then you pop in the clips just by pushing around the perimeter of the door. Remember, there's a short blue clip right around here, I think, or here. I'm not exactly sure because I can't think backwards properly right now. But you just push everywhere until you hear click, 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 click everywhere. And then you have to put this surround back in. It just clips in. So taking it out is just clips out. You pull it out with your fingers. That's how I got it out. And then you replace this small Phillips head screw and cover here. And there's a large Phillips head screw and cover down here in the guts of this handle. Remember to connect your connectors on this console. So when you install the door card, you may want to pull the wires out so they hang out this hole. Then you connect this console screw. Then you connect this sort of fitting, this plastic friction fit fitting, and then you put in the screw, and then you are done. So taking the Subaru door apart is really, really easy. And I have to say I'm pretty pleased with the way this is going, and it's very nice to be able to get into this car with the key, because I just got it and I don't know if the battery is any good, and the only way to get into this car was using the keyless entry system, which doesn't work all that well. So if I press unlock, it worked this time, but it doesn't always work. See? Hello? Click. Click. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, which made me very anxious because the previous owner told me that the battery was in only so-so shape. So you can imagine how it would work if the car was out of battery, the keyless entry system wasn't working, and the driver's side lock was also not working. You would be locked out of this car. And I have a feeling that's what happened. Because if you look at all of these scratches on the car, these are scratches, the kind of scratches you get when you're trying to get into a car that you've been locked out of. So my guess is that one of the reasons why this car was sold is because the battery failed, the keyless entry system, which relies on the battery, failed, and the driver's side door lock was inoperative. So they had to maybe pay somebody to gain entry to the vehicle. Now the frame is okay. I mean, there's no damage, but it sure does look like somebody messed around with this car. And my guess is it's because they were either playing with this lock here, or they were trying to get into the car to unlock it. But now it's locked. Well, we can use the keyless system. Okay, so it should be locked, and it is. But now I can just get into the car using the key. So I don't have to live in fear of the battery being dead. And that was the whole reason why. That was the very first thing that I did with this car. is to fix the entry control, because if the battery goes dead, I am very stuck. So next thing we're going to work on in this car is probably something cosmetic, maybe the rust, maybe the rims. But mechanically this car seems to be so far so good. I'll let you know, and the next video will feature the next big problem. Well, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, please share with your friends, and well, as always, keep making